All right, we are here with a little another CSI. I call these camp staff interviews. Short formed it to CSI. It's nothing investigative, so we don't have to worry about tapping into detectives or anything. But I'm here with Simba, aka Judah. This is one thing I've realized about these is it's going to completely expose everyone's real names. So if kids are watching, they're going to learn all our real names.
Awesome. Cool. It's good to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. One of the people I reached out to first to do these was you, because I know you've had a pretty awesome summer. You have some great stories, and you always bring the energy. So
I do my best. It comes natural, but I do my best. You have your moments. You get it.
Yeah, I have my moments. That's the thing with me. Judah would come up to me in the summer, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you bring the energy for the days I can't." And I'm
Take
like,
some of the pressure off. Yeah.
I'm like, I have to really kind of force it out sometimes, because actually one thing people don't realize about me is I'm extremely introverted.
Yeah, I was honestly, when you told me that, because I remember when I first met you, it was just like, there's a roller coaster. I mean, I'm sure people say the same thing about me when they meet me for the first time, but yeah, it seems like it comes pretty natural for you. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe extremely introverted is the wrong term, but I am probably more introverted than extroverted.
Like an introverted extrovert kind of.
Yeah.
Is what they.
I don't know. Sure. I know there's a middle one too. Maybe it's an ambivert. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But no, how is so we're recording this on the last week of summer. There's no camps going on this week. It's a staff debrief week. All the staff is still here. So camps have come and gone. It felt like in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, literally, dude. Like, I was literally telling someone, like, when we met, so Zach and we met at Youthquake, like doing some stuff for the camp in the spring. And like, it seems like in some ways it seems like a lifetime ago, but at the same time it feels like you said, just like snap and like, whoa, like it's like, it seems like just yesterday we were like wondering what this summer was going to be like and what God was going to do. And now we're on the other side, like about to, like you said, we're on staff debrief. So yeah, it's wild. Like, it really does seem like just boom. And it's just like, whoa, like I thought we just started. Like,
seriously, I remember when we brought in all the spring staff and we were prepping for the summer, and I was just thinking, man, I feel like this summer is going to just go by so slow because we have so many camps and so many kids coming in. Not necessarily it was going to drag on, but it just, it was going to feel like a full summer, because that's what it is 2 months. And I came out, I wasn't actually supposed to be at the camp for summer camp. I ended up coming out for 1 week, which turned into two, which turned into three, and then ended up being roughly 3.5, and then I would come out every now and then. But man, how was this your first experience working at a summer camp?
Yeah, it was. It was. I went to a few like kind of camps as a kid, like when I was really little, but didn't go to a whole lot of that kind of thing, especially when I got older. But then I came here like not knowing really what to expect, just kind of like just do my best and Lord help me, like kind of deal, as we all are, at different times in our lives. But yeah, it was my first experience, and I was just, a lot of the time I really felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants, but there was that, taking a huge risk in a lot of ways. But I heard someone say one time that, as Christians and believers and with God, it's like we should be the ones taking the risk, because we've got the ultimate safety net in God, so it's like we should be the one out there taking those risks. And I'm, like everything in life, there were hard times throughout the summer, but like I wouldn't have changed it for the world, and it's definitely been one of the best summers of my entire life.
Yeah, and it's funny because as Christians we talk about stepping out in faith and leaning on God and following His path, and then we talk about how trustworthy He is, and then we say, yeah, I'm going to actually take a risk and follow God. And it's like so funny in our mind, because we feel so much stronger in our own power than in God's power. And but it's true, but that's what living in faith is. It's taking a step and believing where you just don't see it yet, but you're just trusting. So no, that's true. Because and you took a big risk coming out here, because you're not from Medicine Hat, right? Like, how did you hear about the camp and desire to get involved here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, like you talk about that, let's like stepping out of the boat, right? Like trusting He's gonna be there. Yeah, I grew up. I was born in BC, but I grew up in Saskatchewan. I'm been a Saskatchewanian, I think is what it's called.
Saskatchewan?
Yeah, Saskatchewan. Most of my life. And I was living in Saskatoon. I grew up in Carlisle, a little farm town down in the south corner. But I was living in Saskatoon at the time, and a good buddy of mine, which ended up come work here too, Mustang, is the campers will know him, but his name's Tom. And I was out here actually. I was visiting I was visiting him in Medicine Hat, and he works at, for those of you from Medicine Hat, you'll know of Global Prayer House, or you've probably heard
the
of
YWAM base in town.
exactly. And I had been visiting family, and then we went up to visit Tom, and they were having the, I think it was not the Jesus conference, it was the,
One
of their
I
retreat
forget what it
things
was
they were
called,
having.
but yeah.
Ignite Weekend. That's what it was,
yeah.
Ignite Weekend. And I was there just visiting him and taking part in it. And then another staff member of ours, Bambi, as the campers you'll know her as, or Simone, she was there, and I'd never met her before, but I ended up chatting with her, and I was just telling her basically I was living in Saskatoon and I was working on some music stuff, and ended up coming out to visit my buddy Tom. She's like, well, like, we're looking for staff. Like, could I give your number to my friend, like, Justin, or Commissioner, our camp director this year? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it ended up being this funny, it was almost like a dance where, like, I was really excited about it at first, and then I went back to Saskatoon and just kind of was like, I don't know what God has for me in this season. I don't know. Like, you go through that doubt where you're just like,
right.
Oh, God, like, I feel like I'm starting to get called here, but I feel like, how could you use me kind of thing, that everyone, like, it's
the devil
real.
loves to work through doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Like, whether you've been walking with God for your whole life or for 2 years, like, we all experience those moments of doubt, or if we're really capable of what God's calling us to. But she literally, it was so, and I was telling her about this, I'm so thankful she pushed me, because even though she'd only met me once, she just kept pushing me, like, I really think you should do your interview. And I don't know if I told you this even, but I almost backed out of my interview, like, right before we had it.
I don't think
like,
you told me that.
I almost was just like, no, I can't do. But then I remember just praying about it, like, before I was, like, a few hours before, I was like, no, like, I should definitely do this. I ended up having my interview over Skype, and it's funny, Justin and I, we both said, like, we weren't even, like, halfway done the interview, and we're like, man, I feel like this would be a good thing for you. And I was like, yeah, I feel like it too. And one thing led to another, and I ended up coming out. I had a friend drive me out, and I crashed at Justin's for 2 weeks, and the rest is history, I guess you could say.
So you've already brought up the four of us and Youthquake, so I think it's only right that we tell the Brown Social House story.
Oh, no.
Not that it's like it's not much of a story, but
PTSD right here, man.
basically we all went at Youthquake, which is like a big youth conference.
The first day I met you guys. That was the first day.
It was the first day.
First night.
We got hungry, so we went to Brown's in man, we're actually completely outing it, because if people can look up where Youthquake is. We won't say the city, we'll make you do the research.
Yeah.
But we basically, like, every single one of us, except you somehow, we had to order like 3 times, because we would order, and then she'd leave and then come back and say, oh, we don't have that. And then we'd say, okay, I want this. And then she'd leave and come back. Like, it wasn't even like a thing where she just knew all that they didn't have. And then, like, one of the things they were missing was literally the batter to deep fry things.
Oh, that was... Okay, let me say this. God bless that waitress, our waitress that night.
I know,
she was
I felt so bad.
I felt terrible, and like, she was just doing the best. It's like you do the best you can with what you got.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. None of us were mad at her. Yeah, none of us were mad at her. It was just like, man, what am I supposed to eat? And then we eventually were able to order.
Yeah.
We were all able to order something that was available on the menu, and I didn't even get like half my things. You got yours last, like way far last.
I was going to say, I'm the only one who didn't have to change my order, and I still got it last, even after you guys ordered. Like, I think Commissioner literally ordered like almost 6 different times.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And Bambi was like, Simone was literally just almost like in tears, just like she's just like exhausted and tired. She's like super introverted. We love you, Simone, but just super introverted, just couldn't deal with it. She just like, just give me my food. And
so what's funny here, I've noticed you bounce back and forth between camp names and real names so
yeah,
often. Which one comes to your mind first when you think of people? Does it depend on the person?
Yeah, I mean, I've been like friends with Tom for like a long time, and I actually, because Tom and I met like after high school, and he has a different nickname. Like, my nickname Simba actually was born out of where Tom and I first became friends, so he's used to calling me that. Awesome. But I was actually used to calling him, so it's like, it's a bit. But yeah, certain people like Bambi definitely comes with Simone comes first, because I actually gave her that nickname when we were at Youthquake, just out of a joke. But
we won't get into that joke.
Exactly. But yeah, and then like Justin, it kind of goes back and forth, because I knew him as Justin for a long time. But yeah, it's kind of burnt in. There are definitely some people, like some staff, who I didn't meet till literally right before we started camp, that I actually have to think about what they're. It's not because I don't love them. Like, for any of us who have been out here, like, we're all family. We all love each other out here. But it's just like such a. And see, where I grew up, like growing up in that small town culture, like, usually the people you love the most are the people you have that playful relationship with, where you give them nicknames. Like if you were to go through the contacts, my phone's just like nicknames.
Oh,
right?
that would
So,
stress me out. I'm a
First
first
and
and
last
last.
name.
I
Yeah,
need it
that's
all organized.
100%. Yeah, some people are like that, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So you were the sports coordinator here?
Yeah, I
So,
was. Yeah.
I don't know. Explain that position a bit.
Yeah, so basically my job was to organize whether it was like the activities for what sports we're going to do, or we didn't get as many tournaments in as we were hoping this year. Next year, I'm going to make a point to focus on that more. But we were able to basically just have different opportunities for different kids to try different sports, and just give them a bit of tips on and do some drills, but also just have fun, man. Like it's such an amazing thing to not only be able to do for God to move so powerfully, but to also be able to use like stuff like fun, like
Exactly.
So I've been walking with the Lord now for a couple of years, but just to be able to realize that's something I had to actually, and those kids actually taught me a lot about that this summer. That man, God can work just as much in someone's heart through having fun and having it's important to have those deep like earth, like rattling, like just those encounters with God, but it's also like just to be able to do something simple, like to be able to, he can work just as much through something like that as he, so that was such a blessing to be a part of this summer.
Well, and that's why I love someone like Joyce Meyer so much, because the entirety of her ministry is enjoying everyday life.
Yeah, 100%.
It's obviously we want that relationship with God and we want those encounters, but we're on this earth because he wants us to enjoy our lives and enjoy our lives living for him. Amen. But, I think so many, obviously the world takes enjoying life to this whole YOLO mindset of, I'm just going to do everything I can. And you just live such an unfulfilling lifestyle.
Right.
That was a bit of a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
But one thing, I guess, that ended up being kind of fun, but wasn't necessarily fun in the moment. You had a pretty serious injury at camp playing basketball. So I guess talk about like just the injury part first, and then we'll get on to what happened.
For sure. So yeah, I was in an activity. We were playing basketball just behind us here on the basketball court. And I was playing with the kids. Usually I'm on the sidelines like coaching them and stuff, but it was one of our last things, so I just thought I'd join in. And I jumped up for a ball, and then we were in a big group of kids, and I came down, hyperextended my knee, and then it twisted and like just bent right out of place. And it didn't break or anything, but I felt it like something like pop or like pull or something. I felt something was wrong, and it was painful, and like they had to cart me to the nurse's station, and I ended up commissioner had to drive me in and get x-rays, and it was a really gnarly deal. And I was almost in tears, because I thought my whole summer was basically done at that in terms of physically being able to do anything. And I'm an extrovert guy, so like,
well, and as the sports coordinator,
well, yeah,
it's
exactly,
tough
right?
to be
It's
off
like
to the side.
No. Like I never wanted to be that coach that was just like wagging the finger, like I want to be in there with the kids and help them out. So yeah, that was a really tough thing.
Well, and it already seemed like a blessing, like your diagnosis from the doctor, because you ended up, what was it, just like a sprain or a strain?
Yeah, there was already a miracle in itself that first night, because I remember I told you this. I was sitting in my hospital bed waiting for the x-rays, and they were telling me, like, just looking and assessing me at first, they're like, it's bad, like, you're swelling, like they were telling me to prepare myself for like surgery in a 6-month like healing process, like crazy. And I had this moment where I was in my bed and I just said, Lord, like, whatever happens, I just give it to you. And if I do need that time, so be it. Like, I'll just more time to spend and, be able to, but I don't want to be that situation, but if it is, I just lay this at your feet, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 days, whatever.
Yeah. And I'll just interject for a quick second, because when I first met you, like, that would not have been your mindset.
No,
you were so ready to just, next thing. And why is this happening? Like, this sucks. But the fact that you were even able to shift that mindset of, if I'm not able to live life and experience life and jump around like I normally would, I trust God, you're still going to do something through me, and I'm going to learn new ways to minister, new ways. And I think that mindset switch was a big thing in itself and a big step of improvement for you in itself.
Yeah, 100%. Because I've always been just very like, when you're extrovert, you like, I know you could probably relate to this. You get your energy from being around your people, your community, your family. That's what brings out the best. People bring out the best in you, kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So it was a very actually almost humbling moment in that moment, laying there in my hospital, just to realize, just to actually face the reality of like, okay, like I'm going to have to be okay with the fact that I very well may be lying around a lot and having to force myself to not just grow and learn more about God through with my community and the few moments that, you know, I spend, but like be able to be okay that I might be alone a lot. And that's a scary thing, just with, you know, certain things I've gone through in my life that being alone is a struggle for me. So just to be able to realize in that moment and be okay with it, that was a big thing where, like you said, I realized I would not have been able to be okay with that.
Yeah,
like,
even just like a couple months before.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So it was a very humbling thing just to be able to realize that, God, I trust you enough that I'm going to humble myself, that even though this isn't what I want, I'm going to be okay with whatever it is you want for my life in this moment, in this circumstance.
And that's so good. And I think that is a miracle within itself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
But we can obviously skip forward because we know what happened to the real miracle.
Yeah.
And if you guys like moves of God, then what happened this summer is right up your alley, because we saw deliverances, kids speaking in tongues, healings, as we're about to get into. So we entered one of our services, and we have services every night.
Yep.
It's kind of fun throughout the day and then a service at night. And I literally carried you into this service.
100%.
Because you were on crutches since the injury happened, and you were saying how, you know, your armpits hurt, and I made a joke.
I literally was blistering on my armpits. I was like, Zach, like...
Crutches are very uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, this is going to sound like a joke, but can you actually carry me? Like, my armpits are, like, blistering right now. Like,
yeah, so I carried him. I don't even know how far that would be. I'm so bad at estimating distances. But if you've ever been out to ENR from Town Hall to the amphitheater, which it's a decent walk. Like it takes like 5 to 10 minutes, especially when you're carrying someone. Yeah. So I had him over my shoulder. Luckily, I was able to make it and then put him down. And then we had our service. And then there was time for ministry at the end.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want to point out is, you know, you could have came up and said, I want prayer for my knee, which would have been perfectly normal and perfectly fine.
And
but
understandable.
We were, yeah, exactly. And we were praying or like I think Thomas spoke on being filled with the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And you came up for prayer, literally just saying to me, I just want everything God has for me. Like, that's all I want. You didn't even mention your foot, your knee, any of that, even though you came up on crutches and you said, I just want to be filled with everything. And then, you know, you can take it away from there.
Yeah. So, I came into that service, and I was just sitting there in the front row like I usually did, like, because I couldn't make my way
get up
the stairs. Like, and I remember you had actually prayed for my knee a couple times and nothing had happened, so I was feeling kind of discouraged, like, about that. But I had this moment where, like, we were just starting to get into the ministry time, and I had this picture in my head of this vision in my mind of this dragon. And then I also saw this knight with like a big sword, and like, but that's all I saw. And they were in two different separate things. And I was like, and then in that moment, I just got this fire like burning like in my soul. Like, and I'm definitely the kind of guy. I wear my emotions on me very clearly. But
definitely.
100%. Sometimes to my disadvantage, but God's working on that with me right now. But anyways, I just felt like I felt almost like a football player just ready to charge out of the tunnel, you know, kind of deal. And I remember going up to you and just had this, like, just this, dude, I don't care what God wants to do right now, but just, I'm ready. Whatever he wants to do, just, Lord, do it. So you started praying for me. And at first it was kind of like just a bit of the deliverance and just some intense prayer. And then I remember another one of our staff members, Kona, or Ashton is her name, is she came over, and when she laid hands on my shoulder, I got that picture came back, except I saw the knight stabbing the dragon with the sword. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was, and then I just remember feeling this surge, like I mean, the main way that God communicates with you, I'm naturally a feeler, like feeling the presence of God and the Holy Spirit is naturally how I'm used to hearing it. But it was like, even for me, it was like, I'd never,
intense.
It was like wild. And it wasn't just even, it was like something is going to happen. And then I think I started, like, honestly, I can't even, like, some of it's because it was just so like intense, but like, I was just like, it's happening. I was just like, it's happening. More people started, and then the kids, this is where it really got wild. The kids started seeing what was happening, and then all of a sudden I'm actually just getting chills right now.
This is so good.
But the more and here's the thing, I had my eyes closed for most of the time.
Yeah.
But I could feel and hear the kids coming over, and the more kids and I could feel they're like tiny hands, right? Like
Yeah.
the more kids that kept laying hands, I kept getting the vision of this knight kept stabbing this dragon man. The dragon started it was like getting, and I was like, it's happening, it's gonna happen. And then my good friend Mustang Tom, he came into the middle, and he came right, and he started. Just knowing me a bit more personally, just started praying some very specific things as these kids and faith was building. We felt it. I mean, I know you can probably add to your point of view of what was happening here, but it was just like the faith was building, and then finally it was probably like a good half an hour.
Yeah, it was a lot of persistence.
Like, yeah,
and I think that's the great thing is obviously when you pray for healing and it happens like that, it's amazing.
Yeah,
and it's a miracle
for sure.
But the fact that it was literally probably 30 minutes of persistence.
There was a battle
not
going
just
on,
from
dude.
you,
Yeah.
but like from me, Mustang, Ashton, but all these kids, like they were in it for 30 minutes, praying in tongues, just crying out to God, and just it kept adding and adding. So like I think the time that you brought up is actually very key because the Bible does talk about persistence and prayer and persistence
100%.
and staying locked in, right?
We're in a battlefield, man. Like we're there's battles that are going on, and then I remember I started taking steps, and people just
you slowly stood up.
It was wild, and
started
then the
walking.
last final. Oh, dude, I got so many chills. I was standing at the bottom of the stairs. I was standing without crutches at this point.
Yeah,
and I stand. Everyone's like, run up the stairs, run up the stairs. We're in so you gotta keep in mind we're in an amphitheater, so like the stage, the stairs go up from the stage. They don't go down. And I'm looking at the top stage, and I remember in my mind's eye, I saw this picture, this thing, this like very intimidating thing, whatever you want to think of it as, standing at the top stairs. He was looking down at me. But for the first time of my life, I didn't feel scared. But I did have that last moment of doubt, and I looked down at my feet, and I'm just like, oh, am I really going to do this? And I looked up, and then now it was Jesus.
Wow.
And he put he didn't even say anything, he just smiled at me, and he put his hand out, and just like, for you sports nerds out there, Rocky Balboa, I just went running up those stairs.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I literally started jumping at the top stairs, like full healing, full restoration, like full 100% jumping up and down. And kids just were.
They started running up after
me,
you,
and
jumping
then kids
with you.
were like coming up, and they just were like. And then they started praying in tongues, and like it was insane. It was, and that led into like probably another 2 hours of like all these kids were praying for each other, and some people were crying, some people were singing, and then we had worship, and we were all dancing.
It was literally one of the best nights of my life.
Oh,
and I'm sure it was even greater for you.
Too.
Oh, right,
like,
I forgot about
Jesus'
that. What a birthday gift.
present for me. Yeah, it was wild. It was one of the most, not just amazing things to be a part of, but just it was super humbling. Like I think I remember telling you that like it was really humbling for me just to realize that, you know, like everyone else on this earth, I'm an imperfect human being who makes mistakes, but the fact that when you say yes to God, he can use you in ways that you could never do it on your own. So just if you're willing to say yes, not only are you going to get your healing and is he going to work in you, but he's going to do things through you that you could never, not only even do, but ever even imagine. Like I couldn't even imagine in a dream that God would be able to do something like that. So your yes that's all you got to do. All it takes is to say yes, whether you need a healing, whether you need to accept God for the first time in life. All it takes is a yes, and he can take the wheel, right?
Ooh, go in.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome. And yeah, talking about the kids coming in and praying, I remember. So it was 3 of us staff members, as we've talked about, Kona, Mustang, and myself. And the first kid that came in was like, I want to pray for him, but, you know, I don't really. And we're like, just go for it. Like, once again, it's just God's yes. You know, these kids, it's not that we have or I have more power than these kids. We all walk under the same authority of God. And obviously, you know, we can know different things and be more experienced in different ways. But at the end of the day, it's all God's power working through us. And all of us can harbor the same authority in Christ. So the first kid went in, and then a couple more just kind of wanted to jump in, and then it was just one after the other
Dude.
And it was just Shaggy, our photographer, actually took a video on his phone of it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy just looking at the people, seeing the tears, seeing people or hearing people scream. It was just
there's literally so many kids
unreal.
Like that were praying, like you can't even see all of them, like in his camera.
You can't.
And he has a nice like big, like you couldn't even see all the people in the shot. Like it was wild.
Yeah. So that is literally one of my favorite stories from camp this summer. Probably your favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any other maybe specific memories? Obviously that's not that story. That was just a moment that really stood out to you about the summer, even if it's just, you know, a fun little silly moment.
Right. Yeah, honestly, like there were so many of them. Like just being able to get to connect with I really enjoyed, like, I mean, the campers is what we're here for. That's what we're
Right.
about. But just the chance we had as staff to like connect on our Friday, we would have these things called Shabbat dinners, which was just like getting to just come together as a staff, and then we'd hang out after, and just to get to know everyone and just hear their testimonies and their stories. And for me, I love like just being able to ride horses and all that stuff.
You love
and
that.
I actually, a few weeks ago, we had a moment where actually, saddle came loose, came off, and it was a bit scary in the moment.
I don't
but,
even know what the magnitude of something like that would
Oh,
mean.
dude, so yeah, I was literally I was riding. We were going up this hill, and then the cinch, which is the saddle that holds the saddle together, just came undone.
So you almost
as
just
my
fell
horse
off.
was like I did fall off.
Oh, wow.
But it was like in that moment where just like I just got off and like I rolled a bit with the saddle, but it was just like just God's protection, right? And
Come
just
on.
like so it was like just and then be able to laugh about it after too,
Yeah.
because it's like I think there's things in the moment, or we look at even things. There's things in my past I'm still working through that it's like it's scary to look back on that, but then or like you feel like it was but then you see how God brings you through. It's just like, oh yeah, God did that. It's just like you get to know God on a level where it's like he's gonna do things. Like, dude, I remember when you came to the camp and you got on a whole new level with God, and it was to the point where you weren't even hoping he was gonna move. You were expecting. You're like, oh, I wonder. You're like, man, I can't wait for God to move tonight.
Right.
And I remember sometimes, I was just like, yeah, I hope he does.
Yeah.
Like, but
yeah,
then,
maybe he will.
but, it's like it talks about, iron sharpens iron. And
Right.
like when you surround yourself with those people, it's just like good people. It's like community is going to make a huge difference. Introvert or extrovert, you need
Yeah.
good people
Yeah.
around you. And I think it's such a good thing to be surrounded with good community.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we have here is great community.
Yeah,
and you
100%.
talk about how I went to a deeper level, you went to a deeper level, but
Yeah.
I also went to that deeper level because of the
Yeah.
community and the leadership and the intercessors we have here.
Yeah.
It's it's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere. Not trying to turn this into a marketing pitch, but if someone was listening right now debating about applying to work at camp next summer, what would you say to them?
Do it. 100%. 100%. I will tell you though, like it was, it's like anything in life that, Jesus himself literally talked about in this life, there will be trouble, right?
Yep.
It's not like everything's perfect and it's all sunshine and rainbows, but I promise you will not regret it. 'Cause for me, like I've gotten this amazing family that like I'll literally have the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
Like I can assure you will find people you will connect with, staff, and just the privilege it is to get to walk with kids and to walk with them through wherever they're at, because that's the thing is we're all at different points in our
Yeah.
journey, old, young, whatever. So the privilege is just to walk with kids. Actually, one thing you were saying that just popped in mind when you asked me a memory I have, and just that kind of applies to this, is I remember being part of this. Like I was catching people on the zip line, and we had this group come out, and literally there was just the whole day was them going on zip line. There were some of them who were so scared. They were literally in tears when they got
Wow.
down, but every single person, even though they were literally like bawling in my arms when I was taking them off the zip line and unhooking them, they
Yeah.
all were so happy they did it.
Yeah.
And it's things like that where you realize that it's so much bigger than yourself. And that's what when you come to work at a place like this, you get this family, but then you also get to be part of all these experiences where you realize like, man, like, thank you, Lord, for just being able to open the doors for me to come here and just to get to experience this. Because when you see someone else get healed, or you see someone else go through something, or even just get a small victory, it builds faith and it builds you
Yeah.
up, and it makes you, next time you're in a situation, you're like, man, I remember when God did that for me, or
Yeah.
God did that for Zach, or God
Yeah.
did that for this person or that person. It builds you up. And so it's like, I don't know exactly what God has next for me in my life, but I do know the things I've learned this summer, I'm going to be like carrying it for the rest of my life, and I'll be passing down to my kids. And like one day, it's just like, it's stuff that this is how revival starts. This is how,
Yep.
new stuff starts. It's like, cause the kids that we're working with today are going to be the leaders tomorrow when
Come on.
we're,
Yep.
when we're, the elders and we're helping them out.
Yeah,
These kids
yeah.
that we're helping, they're going to be the kids that are going to be the leaders in a little
Yep.
while. So it's such a privilege to not just be part of their lives now, but to sow into what they're going to be doing when they grow up,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
And before this summer, I'd never gone to summer camp as a camper, as a leader.
really,
I
you
was
never
just-
told me that.
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
because I was just always playing baseball, so I never
Yeah,
had the
literally
time in my
same.
schedule to go to overnight camp. And honestly, before the summer, if you asked me if you should work at camp, I wouldn't have said no. I would have said yeah, but I would have probably followed it with a sarcastic phrase of, but have fun.
Yeah,
But
literally. Same.
now
Yeah.
being out here for 3 weeks, I was just so excited to get back because, like you said, 1, the family atmosphere with the staff,
Yeah.
2, the ability to minister to kids, and then 3, this is ENR specific, but just the property we have here and the buildings and the area, the activities. It is so fun for kids, but also to be able to lead kids. So
Yeah.
it's no, I'm really happy you came out, that you took
Yeah,
that step
dude.
of faith. It was awesome. It's been awesome, getting to know you and continue getting to know you, of course. But
100%.
yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. This
Yeah,
was great.
dude. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Had so much fun, and yeah, it's been a blast. And I can't wait for what's next.
Yeah, man. When I first asked you, you were so excited.
Yeah,
to come
literally.
On the show. You were like, yes, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah,
And you just
for
gave
sure.
your yes, and now look
Yeah.
at it.
Hey, yeah. So hopefully, God is gonna do some great things.
That was awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.